What is going on, my friends? It is a pleasure to welcome you to episode number 4 of From Blueprints to Bleachers. In this episode, we are going to be continuing my deep dive into the AAC conference stadiums with the SMU, or Southern Methodist University's very own Gerald J Ford Stadium. This stadium is home to a tenacious team with an even more incredible history than you might have known. And we're going to be covering all of that in this video while I go over this stadium's history, architecture, capacity, fan appeal, and modern amenities in order to give it an overall grade like we have in previous episodes. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to be going this way back this episode, and for that reason, you'll understand why later. This school's football program is a very storied one that began in 1915 in the Texas Intercollegiate Athletic Association with a dubski over Hendrix College. The team would shortly move over to the now defunct Southwestern Conference, where they saw a good amount of their storied success, starting out with the father of the forward pass, Ray Morrison's aerial circus offense. Back in an era where passing was utilized a handful of times a game, SMU threw the ball a lot like we're used to seeing today, averaging throwing the rock 30 to 40 times. They'd follow that up with their first national championship in 1935, with various winning seasons afterwards, en route to 3 conference championships in the 40s before a major slump, no doubt brought on by Matty Bell's exit. This would lead to yet another era SMU would be the first to be a part of, with the debut of the great Jerry Levias under the Hayden Fry era, giving them their first bowl game and conference championship in years, thus lifting SMU back to national praise and prominence. The third and last era of SMU would come in the 80s, with Eric Dickerson and Greg James being recruited to form the Pony Express, leading to 2 back-to-back national co-champions, ranked 5th and 2nd overall respectively in the times that they earned them. Riding high on something like that could only have its bubble burst by a literal death, which is exactly what came apart of the program in 1987, when the NCAA laid the smackdown on them for repeated recruitment violations that would be laughed off the face of the planet in today's NIL market. But it did indeed mean the end of the program for 2 years. This would be the avalanche that would have SMU climbing back to relevance for the next 3 decades, with the hope that a beautiful new stadium at the turn of the decade would be the spark that they needed to overturn the recent turmoil. Gerald J Ford Stadium broke ground on September 10th of 1999 and finished just in time to prove serviceable for the 2000 football season, in which it had its 8th highest attendance game with 32,074 fans in attendance. That is sold out plus some, meaning they're a little bit lenient with that capacity number. The highest attendance game came during the 2010 season, where SMU lost a heartbreaker hosting their own Armed Forces Bowl, and this domino affected into their most recent success, where we see them becoming possibly nationally relevant again. Architecturally, this stadium is your standard horseshoe stadium with a bowl orientation, just with one side to the left of the elements, and in SMU's case, they left it to be a classic grassed area for students and others to sit and enjoy the game. This is all well and good, but the elephant in the room is this area will be no more when the sports complex is completed, as modern architecture does away with these areas first, as it is the most obvious space to be utilized in the recent uptick of the SMU attention, and everybody loves a little bit of protection from the elements, especially in Texas. The walk into the stadium is full of spirit carved into every brick of this place, as with the walk-up area being inscripted with M's and Mustangs all throughout, as well as Mustang banners being able to be seen from the ground looking up when you're walking and see the stadium side of the bleachers. The hallways are your standard full walking area, only broken up by temporary concession lines that encroach on choke points of people trying to find their seats and those trying to progress, but in most areas people egress quite freely, and you can see a lot of memorabilia from years past around. When walking out into the stands, the seating is colored red in the lower bowl and blue in the upper bowl, which matches the school's colors and something that hits me right in the dopamine receptors when I look at a stadium. The expansion is another plus that I'm giving them credit for, because while they're replacing the open grassy area, they're going to be very open theme in my opinion. That gives you the best of both worlds and shelter from the elements, with a laid back feel all the same. All in all, I'd say this stadium gets a B for me, as it has a standard stadium with all the little bells and whistles that make it stand out and really make you call the place your home stadium. Hey ladies and dudes, probably mostly dudes, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because I know we are forgetful sometimes, dudes, and I think you might have forgotten that this is your favorite source of the most unique football content you could probably think of. Jumping into capacity, this stadium comes in at a slightly adjustable 32,000 people, which is a little below the midpoint of the league at 8th. But what I would say is this is unique as far as stadiums we have covered, in the fact that while yes, 95% of the seats are bleachers, the bleachers at least have a back support. This is a nice and thoughtful feature, especially for the time that the stadium was built in, as the era of bleacher-only gameplay. The 233 suite seats were added in 2013 and give them a bit of a boost of that, as well as the expansion being quite easy to navigate to your seats when it finally does get here. The rest of the stadium, not so much. C+ for this standard yet personable set of seats at Gerald Ford. Fan appeal. Now this is one I've been wanting to get to. This school has historically always had decent attendance, with it recovering very nicely as of late, especially as well, with 24,000 averaged a game in recent memory. That is number 5 in their conference, and definitely shows some pretty insane alumni dedication, with the standing undergraduate number being at 7,056 students and a total student population of 11,739. Their triple-digit history is definitely showing out, and who wouldn't want to? With a lot of different areas of homage to the past that is planned to be in the sports complex as well. As the team seems to be getting more consistent, we might see this number even increase even more, as they have years of alumni, and they have no shame in showing support for their school, especially when it's being successful. We're going to be giving them a B+ for this category, as the consistency of numbers with a limited amount of resources speaks genuine numbers to this category. Modern amenities. SMU's stadium started with the renovations of the Gary Weber End Zone complex, that which won't be done until the 2024 season. So we're going to have to be talking about their stuff with a grain of salt, and I'm going to be going mostly in depth into their rubber and sand based Shaw Sports Turf Powerblade Bolt Series turf system, and a bit outdated scoreboard, because that is something that we have tangible evidence to rate. They're clearly taking pride in player safety and addressing the scoreboard issue, which will greatly improve fan experience, but I don't believe it ever negatively impacted them prior to the changes as well. I'd say this stadium is quite in the middle between bare bones and state of the art, which is what I'd expect from an alumni-based following school. I'm very excited for what is to come, and we'll be revisiting the stadium to regrade after the upgrade, but for now, it gets a C. Overall, we're going to be giving this stadium a B-, and they surely do deserve it. Were you guys surprised by any of my ratings, guys? What do you think of Gerald Ford Stadium? Let me know. It was a pleasure deep diving into this alumni-funded and supported gem of a stadium, and I cannot wait to keep following it, as they seem to always be doing something with stadium. And with a program as storied as this, who could blame them for being this obsessed? It seems like an earnest man's stadium project, and if there's anything I'm here for, it is creative construction for a cause like football enjoyment. SMU is an example of what people proud to support a team and stick by a school after leaving it for their next phase of life looks like. It is a proud testament to if you do whatever it is right, people will keep coming to your games for generations, because the good memories start to multiply. Until next time, stadium fans, this has been Mike with the Pick 6, and you have a good night.